All right, great. Welcome everybody this morning to your March 2022 INC delegate meeting. At some point, I am going to hand this over to Drew, who will be running the election. But I want to welcome everybody. And I just want to remind folks, if you are a delegate, you can rename yourself. Go up to your picture, or I think down below, you can go into participants, and under that, you can change your name, put D delegate if you are a delegate first, and then your name again, and then put your RNO. Sometimes your RNO is long, so if you can abbreviate it, you might need to abbreviate it, but thanks everybody. All right, so it looks like we have most people joining on. Just make sure to, put down your D delegate. It helps us. And then your name and then your RNO afterward, if you can. If you go up by your picture or where your name is listed, if you have it on the side or the bottom, there's a little ellipsis. You should be able to go there. And at the bottom of that ellipsis is, or somewhere in there in the middle, maybe for you, it depends, is a rename yourself. And then you can rename yourself, okay? All right. I'm going to go ahead and start today. We do have elections today, so I want to make sure that everybody knows, and we're providing everybody who are candidates an opportunity to introduce themselves, say a little bit about themselves. In addition, we'll start with, before that, we'll have the nominating committee go ahead and explain, what the process was, and hopefully that will help us going forward, with new candidates in the future. So, but first I wanted to start with committee reports and the treasurer report. So why don't we go ahead and start with that? I know that I'll start first. I think I saw Christine. I don't know that I saw Ian today, but Christine, do you want to take a few minutes and update us? I know there's a lot going on with ZAP. There's been some great meetings.
Sure, I can't quite see yet, but yeah, I will update you. We had a very interesting meeting last month with Laura Aldretti, the head of community planning and development, who gave us an outline for the year of the CPD's programs. And there were a lot of good questions and a lot of, discussion. And then we had Sarah Showalter talked about expanding housing affordability, which is through with the council committee process. It's going to planning board, and I don't know exactly when, and then to city council. And there's still a lot of remaining questions, which if you read the chat, which was attached, you could see all the questions. I would urge everybody who's on this call to go to our website, dimmerinc.org, and read the chat for both presentations, and then talk to your RNO about the expanding affordability proposal. Ian has some questions about it. There were many questions raised in the chat, both supporting it and raising issues about whether it really would lead to affordability. So I'm just asking everybody to take a look. We may put it on the agenda at the next meeting. We do have one important topic lined up. We have Sarah CAWRSE, I'm not sure how you say it, Quars from CPD, who's going to talk about the, increasing equity in rezoning. That's not quite the right first word, but Lou might be able to correct me. But it's an initiative that's been meeting since January, and we're going to get a report on that in our next meeting. So we hope to see everybody there. Thanks.
All right, great. I think I know that I saw Perry. I know you're stepping down, and I know Jane, either one of you, do you want to talk about our newly renamed, I think it's called SAC? Tell me if I'm wrong.
Well, that's just our acronym. Thank you.
The acronym for the Sustainability and
The
Climate Committee.
Climate and Sustainability Committee. Our acronym is now going to be CAS. And good morning, everyone. Nice to see everyone here again with INC on a Saturday morning. A couple of updates from our committee. We had our first major committee meeting on February 24th. We had a pretty good turnout. I think we had about 38 people. We decided, since it was our first get together, we wanted to see who was there and talk about what's heavy on everybody's mind regarding climate. So we had some breakout groups that gave us a chance to find out all the different topics that was on everybody's mind, a little bit of everything. We'll try to condense that down in the next few months with some different topics. We invite everyone on the fourth Thursday to join us at 6:30. We've changed our start time from 7 to 6:30. So we will be having a meeting on March 24th that's going to talk about the issues that are up in the Colorado legislature this year that has to do with climate issues. And there's 13 or 14 bills out there right now. And we're going to have speakers that are going to talk about SB 20055, which is the one on extended producer responsibility. And that'll be Zan Jones, who's going to be our speaker toward that. And Joyce Kennedy is going to be there from the People and Pollinators Action Network, talking about SB 22131. So it's going to be a great idea to get a little bit of a thumbnail sketch on how the legislature is working on climate issues to get some funding and some bills in place that will make a difference. I want to thank Perry for being my co-chair for the last couple of years. We've made some great progress. We've had a lot of different things that have come up that we've tried to deal with COVID and everything. And she has decided that she's got a lot of things that she's doing right now, and it'd be easier for her to step down as co-chair and just be a member of our committee. So Perry, I want to thank you publicly for all the time and work and our friendship that has developed. And I hope you enjoy all of the other tasks that you're doing right now. I'd like to introduce our new co-chair, Keith Meyer. One of the first projects that Keith took on for us was doing a survey of the waste fee issue that's coming up at Denver City Council soon. And he has put out this survey, and I'm going to, if he's there right now, I'd like him to step on and talk about this survey and how we're going to use it going forward.
Thanks, Jane. Yeah, unfortunately, my camera doesn't seem to work on only on ink calls. So I'm here in the dark, but thanks. And yeah, we ended up putting together a survey. I know I've sent it out to RNOs, but I'll post it again here in the chat. And we've gotten about 250 responses so far to this survey, which is just asking folks for how they feel about the expanded waste services model that the city's debating this upcoming in April, and then potentially rolling out over the year if it does pass through City Council. And what we're planning to do with this information, the survey closes on March 22nd. Feel free to take it or send it out to your members of your RNO. And the survey will close on March 22nd, and it's not an academic survey, but we're basically just going to share this information with City Council. There's a spot for folks to do open text entries, and we've gotten about, of the 250 responses, about 180 of them, people have left open text responses that we think is real valuable information for the city to have in making this decision on whether or not residents want expanded waste services. So thanks a lot.
That's it for our committee.
All right, great, thank you, and thanks again. And Perry, great work, and we know you'll keep involved, so thank you. Next, Joel, I think you're by phone. So Joel, do you want to go ahead? And then Patricia, we'll get to you after that, okay? Joel, are you on? Hi, Joel, can you unmute? Oh, he says it's loud there. He's by phone. Go. Okay, so he shared something. I'm gonna go ahead and look in the chat and just share what he wrote. Hold on, let me find where he wrote.
Hey,
Okay.
hey, Loretta,
hold
do
on.
you want me to stop sharing this file? And this
No, you're okay right now.
Okay.
Okay. So Joel said he doesn't have a committee report, but there's a meeting. There was a meeting this last Thursday, 40 people in attendance. Topics included Executive Director of Dottie, Adam Phipps, Jonathan Stalls of Pedestrian Dignity, and learning about upcoming changes to the residential parking permit program. It was very informative. So I don't know if it's up. It said uploaded in the next couple of days onto the website, the YouTube video. So please look for that and go on to the INC website to get that. So thank you, Joel. All right. Patricia, did you want to unmute? Did you have something you wanted to add? Or
Yeah. Yes. Yes, Jane, I do have a question for Keith. You talked about the survey on the new waste management proposal. And how do we access that survey?
I put it in the chat box, but I'm happy to send you an email. I can put
Okay,
my email in there as well.
I can find it in the chat box. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, great. Maggie, do you have anything to share regarding parks?
No, I don't.
Okay, then we'll go on to Greg. Do you want to go ahead and share the treasurer report?
Sure. As of February 28th, we had $1,401.76 in checking, $4.80 in petty cash, savings, $12,968.01, cash receipts, these were PayPal dues payments, $678.17. And in the community fund, we had $27,613.80. Our total assets are $42,666.54. For the operating accounts, we had $755.20 in income. This included $755 in dues payments. Our expenses for the month were only $63.06. And for the community fund, as I mentioned last month, we had received an $11,500 bequest from Joan Watson's estate, and that has been deposited into the community fund. And we have spent a total of $1,500 in youth group awards, and perhaps Jane Potts would like to recap who the award receivers were. So that's my report. Any questions?
I'm happy to share with everyone the names of the grant recipients for 2022, and I want to thank my committee members, Hank and Stella and Karen. They've been helping me with this for the last 4 years, and I think we've, hopefully made a difference in the lives of some youth and the projects that they're doing. So this year, we gave a $500 grant to Fueling Youth Reading is Leaders in Training, and they're at DSST. Students do a book fair and other ways to raise funds, and then they use that money to take a teaching trip to help students learn in the Virgin Islands, and they go on their spring break every year to do that project. We gave another $500 to United Northeast Denver Epworth, and they're going to be doing a neighborhood mural. And then we gave $250 to the DPS students for climate action and $250 for the East High School Sustainability Club. They're going to be planting trees, and they're also trying to get their student climate action as a part of the DPS program, so that the DPS is monitoring climate issues and making their buildings retrofitted and doing other things that will help have a better atmosphere for learning because of coming against climate issues. So we are happy that those students are doing these projects, and they'll be giving us a final report by the 10th of June.
Was that final group DPS Sustainability Club?
Yes, this is DPS, Students for Climate Action, and the East High School Sustainability Club.
Okay, thank you.
That's it.
All right, great, thanks. And I just want to tag on to what Christine was saying. It's Advancing Equity and Rezoning Task Force. So, and then she also put in the chat, March 26th at 9:30, Advancing Equity and Rezoning. There it is again. Yeah, so they do have their, I know, it's on my calendar just because my partner does it, but yeah, they have meetings monthly. So the other thing is, I just want to bring up the nominating committee and thank them for their work. And we know volunteering to be, you know, a part of a nonprofit organization is something you have to have dear to your heart, because it's not something that everybody really wants to step up to do. So if I can call on someone from the nominating committee to speak about the process and about, you know, what you did to get candidates and work with them, and why don't you go ahead and step up and kind of fill us in? Does somebody want to step in? Emmett, Maggie, Jane, I don't know who else was on that committee. Emmett, do you want to talk?
I can talk.
Yeah,
Or Maggie? Either one.
go ahead, Maggie.
We've been broadcasting, asking for volunteers since January. We did go out, we beat the bushes and tried to find people who would volunteer for these positions. We were not able to get an entire amount, but we are satisfied with who we have.
All right, thank you. All right, so.
Hey, I got a question. Hey,
Go ahead.
Trixie. If Maggie or Jane, if you can share the number of people you contacted for this, because I think it's important for folks to hear kind of the level of outreach that was done. If you can share how many people you outreach to.
Well, I think that was on an individual basis. We did conduct some interviews, but in the end, we really didn't come up with people who wanted to volunteer.
Oh, no, I guess what I was saying was I thought I heard something like 40, 50 people that this committee outreach to individuals. And from that, you know, we are where we are. Is that, did I remember that correctly?
Yes, you did. I sent emails to 38 individuals and I spoke to 12 individuals. And that's the number.
No, I appreciate that. I think I just want to make sure that everybody
That's
else was
correct.
hearing
That
amount
is
of effort.
correct. And I did outreach to every corner of the city.
It's
Yes.
important to note too, that our bylaws allowed us to continue our outreach even after our last meeting, before we showed everyone who the nominees were, and we received nobody.
Christine, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I would just like to say that I think that the difficulty we have in getting candidates to run is something that needs to be discussed at some point, because people keep asking me, what's the value? What am I going to get? Why should I do it? So there's a lot of confusion in the membership and hesitancy to put themselves out there. So I do think we need to discuss it. And the other thing is, we need to make sure that we're representing our R and O's and not just ourselves and our own advocacy, which we all fall into all the time, myself included. It's a bigger job to be on the board, to represent all the statistical neighborhoods through the city that join Inc. So I would just like that to be discussed at some point, not today necessarily. Thanks.
Thanks for that, Christine. Brian, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, can you just clarify what the requirements are for someone to run?
Sure. Does the nominating committee want to go through that?
Yes, I'll take that. To be on the board, you need to be a RNO, a delegate, and in good standing with INC.
And that means partially being, your annual dues paid, that's the main thing when he means good standing. So, and I think, can we switch Maggie from Troopty's delegate list to, unless anybody needs that up still, let me know. Raise
Does
your hand.
anybody need,
too.
I can stop sharing anytime.
Okay, I think everybody's seen it. Okay, now if we can go back to the list of candidates. All right. I'm going to hand over this portion of the meeting to Drew. Drew, are you ready? Are you there, Drew?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Good morning. I think on the agenda, I don't have it in front of me. I'm your vice president, by the way. I think, were we going to have a short presentation by all the candidates? Were we going to do that?
Yes, that's where we are right now.
Okay. Does someone want to begin? I think the order of elections are first the president. So Loretta, you are the only candidate running. Would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Hi, I think all of you know me. And so, so I've been a delegate from Baker Neighborhood Association, Baker Historic. It's been probably 10 years now. I'm not quite sure exactly. And I was asked to join the, to be a delegate at large back in, I mean, not a delegate at large, but to be on the board as an at-large member back when JJ was president. So it's been a few years, if you remember. So, and then during that time, I became vice president under George Mayo. So, I'm running for my second term, and just to let you know, kind of to go over a little bit about what we've done. I mean, it's been, difficult times, as we all kind of know. It's, we've gone through, transitioning to online meetings, with COVID, and, some of the benefits of that have been people have been able to participate remotely, which has been worthwhile, but also we've gotten, through Zoom meetings, we've had an opportunity to watch and see presenters that you might have missed a meeting. And so we have those online. Previously, we had to, video record those, and now we do those with a video recorder, and now we do those via Zoom. So we've transitioned there. So, and then there was, working on some of the issues. We had a bylaws committee. We've updated our bylaws. We still need to work on our standing rules. And we've worked on issues that, things that came up regarding, our issues regarding rethinking the police. We've had panels on, sustainability, on housing. We've had a variety of things. So we're still working on other issues. I am always open to people contacting me and saying, hey, Can you get somebody to present? I've been trying to get the auditor to come and present, and no luck yet. I've tried for a couple months now. But you know, we're working on issues, and I'm always open to hear from issues that, you know, that encompass the whole city. So I just want to say, you know, I want to keep INC moving forward. Hopefully getting, you know, representation across the city. I know some areas of the city, we don't have great representation. We're still trying to work on that. And we're moving forward with some DEI work, some diversity, equity, and inclusion, which we did include in the bylaws, and we're moving forward with that work with Justin Cooper, who I think you all know. So just wanted to go ahead and let you know where I'm at, and you know, and I will serve next 2 years as president of INC if elected again. Thanks.
Thank you, Loretta. Thanks very much for that. So the position of president is not contested right now. We have no other candidate running than Loretta. And per our new bylaws that we worked so hard on and just adopted, we can't take any nominations from the floor. So one alternative, and this will apply to other positions today, so I don't maybe have to repeat this, or I can, but we could take a vote by SurveyMonkey, or we could just vote by acclamation, which means we're not going to really run the numbers. We'll just acclaim that Loretta as president. But I think I would like to have a motion from the floor. I would like to see if there is a motion from the delegation to not to elect Loretta, to re-elect Loretta as Loretta Koehler as president by acclamation. Is there?
I make that motion.
I
And I'll
second.
second it. Is Judy here?
Judy.
Thank you,
Okay.
Judy. So the first, let's see, I heard Emmett, and then
Yes.
okay, Emmett moved to elect Loretta Koehler president by acclamation, and Judy Baxter seconded that. So do we, pardon my parliamentary ignorance here, but I think, do we just show should we have a show of hands? Is that
Can we discuss it first?
What's that? Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. Thank you, Robert.
I see only 34 participants, and that's the lowest membership I've seen attending a meeting in a long time. Why? Only 34 people. I think the monkey process would be more equitable to allow all delegates to vote. There's only 34 delegates showing up here. Wouldn't SurveyMonkey be a broader way of electing? More people participating?
So Trupti, do you want to answer about, there was a question in the chat about the quorum?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, what is a quorum? I mean, the question here is how many people from our delegate list are in attendance? What is our, I'm sorry, remind me, what is our quorum? Is it 50%?
That's in the bylaws, I believe, Trippi, and
The quorum is 20% of the RNO members, and I believe that we have at least 10 RNOs represented here today. So we do have a quorum.
Thank you, Greg. I didn't do that ahead of time. I apologize.
yeah, back to Bob Loren's question. I think that's a good question. I think it may be a little why our membership is down, maybe a little bit outside this election process. But if you would prefer not to elect by SurveyMonkey, but to vote, not to elect by acclamation, but to vote by SurveyMonkey, we can certainly do that. That's what this discussion is for. Are there anybody else want to weigh in on their opinions about electing by acclamation versus SurveyMonkey?
I would.
So, go ahead, sorry.
Our bylaws have a prescribed order that we have to elect in. And it might be a little difficult for us to set up SurveyMonkey right now on the fly, because we have to elect the president, and then we have to elect the secretary, and it has to go in a sequence.
Okay. Lou Raiders has her hand up, and Lou Raiders worked on the bylaws. So let's hear from you, Lou.
Hi, all. Thank you. You might hear a little Sesame Street in the background. I'm currently babysitting for my grandson. But having said that, I do think that part of the purpose of tightening up the bylaws to provide for a robust nominating committee was just this, so that we could determine who was really interested, and if you had a competition, then I think a SurveyMonkey would make sense. But we do have a quorum here today, and I believe that we should just proceed with the acclamation. I think Loretta's service has been summarized well. There isn't a competing person for that position, and I would vote to proceed. Now, one of the questions is, do we need to vote to either go SurveyMonkey or to just vote by acclamation today on all positions being presented? So I think maybe, Drew, that would be the way to go, but I personally would encourage everyone to just vote by acclamation and get this process over with, since we actually had a pretty robust process by our nominating committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. And perhaps we should vote on whether or not to do by acclamation versus SurveyMonkey. Let's see, Trupti, you have your hand up.
Actually, I'm gonna just agree with Lou. I think we should be voting by acclamation, given there are no seats being, contested here.
Thank you, Trudy. The next up, Pete Winter.
Wintersheet.
Wintersheet. Hi, Pete. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, I was just going to echo. I think, yes, we should have a separate vote for SurveyMonkey, but if there is quorum here today and we can't nominate anyone from the floor, then we're just going to create more work for ourselves. So yeah, there wouldn't be any advantage to having a second vote.
Or what, Pete, or SurveyMonkey, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I mean. If we were to go to SurveyMonkey, there'd just be one option on it anyway. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Pete. I'm seeing in the chat, Judy Baxter says, I think one of the reasons we have low attendance today is that we don't have another program, and elections are important, but not necessarily a big draw for delegates. There is a question why our attendance is down, but I think we do. I think everybody knew we have an election today. So I think, are there any more comments people want to make about the way we decide the election of president today? Anybody have anything more to say?
Hey, Drew, should we be talking about not just the president, but whether we do all by acclamation if it's not contested today or not? I'm just curious.
Yeah, Trupti, that's right. I was going to kind of address the method is to elect the president first. So I was going to first address the president, but I think this discussion will apply to the other three candidates today.
So maybe you should just call that vote, since it's been motioned and seconded, to go ahead and proceed to take the vote by acclamation, and just take a hand raise for approval of that by those on this call today, and then proceed as you just suggested with each candidate being voted for as we proceed down from president, etc.
Okay, thank you, Lou, for that suggestion. So just to clarify, I think what we're going to first do is take a vote whether or not how we elect the president. Is it by acclamation or survey monkey? We first do that, and then we would, depending on that result, is that what Lou, we should first have that vote to decide how we're electing today?
Yes, I believe that it's already been motioned that the vote be taken by acclamation. And then the bylaws also set out that we just proceed in order of president down. So if we just go ahead and hold that vote, it's already been motioned and seconded. If it is voted by acclamation right now, there is no need to hold a second vote on whether to have a survey monkey. So since those are separate. So if you just go ahead and call the vote, it's already been motioned and seconded, you should be good.
Okay, so we're going to take, and we're going to use a show of hands. I don't know what to do about people on the phone. This is where I might need a little help here suggesting, but we're going to vote and Lou, let me make sure that I got this correct. Shall Loretta Koehler be reelected president of Inc. by acclamation? That is the question. That is the vote. Is that correct? I see Joel has his hand up, and so does Greg.
And I would just say that I believe that the motion, we can clarify that, is that the election today be held by acclamation vote and not by survey monkey. And let's take that vote first, and then let's proceed by acclamation with each process. So first, the vote would be, we're voting, but to hold the votes by acclamation.
Okay, so the motion has been made. Shall we vote today by acclamation or by survey monkey? I do see some hands up.
I think they're voting.
Yeah, the thing is, I see some hands up, and I'd kind of like to hear from them.
No, we're voting.
They're voting. They're voting.
Oh, sorry, they're voting. Okay, I'm sorry.
So the vote, Drew, is the vote now is if you agree that today we'll be voting by acclamation, raise your hand.
Okay, everyone raise your hand if you want to vote by acclamation today, and this will apply, I understand, to all candidates.
Correct.
Okay, just let me know, what about people on the phone? How do they vote? Is that a problem?
Are there people on the phone today?
Yeah, you have.
And I'm also seeing some delegates that are not voting, so I'm going to assume that they are not in favor of this.
You can just do if they want to do it by acclamation, or those who are opposed to it and those abstaining afterward.
Okay, thank you, Loretta. Thank you, Loretta. That's why you're the president. Okay, so let's count. Has everybody finished voting? Let's do a count here. I will count, but I'd like some other people to verify this. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I'm sorry, I have to.
Okay. Hey, Drew, at least if I look at the participant list and, it already says 22 participants have raised their hands. We have 33 on the line.
Okay. I see there's the number there, Troop D, 22. So we have 22 participants raising their hands in favor of that.
One person just dropped it. So now we're at 21 out of 33.
21 out of 33. But those 33 are not all delegates, are they?
Correct. So we're going to have a few that are not, and it's really hard to tell, right? This is one of the challenges of doing voting, on the fly.
Okay, so I now see 22 in favor of electing by acclamation. So if everybody could lower their hands, please. And we will see now how many people, after you all lower your hands, how many people do not want to vote by acclamation today, meaning the alternative being survey monkey. So please raise your hands if you do not want to vote by acclamation today.
I see 2 out of 33.
Okay, so 2, has everybody voted? All right. Okay, so we have 2 opposed. So I think that this motion passes, that we will elect today's participants by acclamation.
There might be some who want to abstain.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Judy. Okay, yeah, everybody who voted opposed, please lower your hand. It's looking like, so it looks like there's one person who has their hand raised. I think it, okay. So now anybody who wants to abstain, please raise your hand. Okay, I'm seeing 1. Has everybody voted that wants to abstain from the choice of acclamation versus SurveyMonkey? I see another one. Okay, we have two abstentions. Okay. Okay, I think you can lower your hands, those 2 people. So I think the motion passes that we will elect today by acclamation. Okay, and this will apply to all 4 candidates today. So first on the choice of Loretta Koehler as president, how is it we do by acclamation? We just ask that everybody raise their hands to show acclamation. To me, acclamation is not really a vote, right?
I don't think we need a vote when it's going to be by acclamation.
Yeah, that's kind of what.
It's all in favor, say aye.
Or raise hands, either one.
That's what I was going to say. I think it's like, I think by raise hands, all in favor of Loretta Koehler being elected president by acclamation, please raise your hands. I'm seeing 20 raised hands, 1 thumbs up. I guess that means the same. Okay, I'm seeing 22, 22 in favor of Loretta Koehler. I think we have to take anybody opposed, right? Is that Lou or Trupti?
No, if you're doing by acclamation, as long as you have the majority of the people who are delegates, you're good to go. You don't have to take opposed or abstain.
Okay, all right, then. Okay, thank you for that, Lou. Lou is a very helpful person on the bylaws, so I defer to her. I think she's correct on this one. So Loretta Koehler is re-elected president of Inc. Thank you. Thanks for everybody for their vote.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Well, welcome again, Loretta. Okay, so now the next position open is the office of secretary. I think you could all lower your hands now. So we are proceeding to elect Emmett Hobley as secretary. He's current. Oh, I'm sorry. We need a presentation. Sorry, guys. Emmett, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. My name is Emmett Homley. My Arnold's Model Neighborhood Improvement Association. I've been involved with the INC for about 3 to 4 years now. I started out as a delegate and became a delegate at large. And I took over the secretary's position when there's a resignation. And we've been working on a lot of things in INC, diversity and equity, financial literacy, all types of social and economic, environmental justice issues. And I think the organization is ready to take the next step to the next level. And I'm very excited about being a member of INC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emmett. Thanks very much. Emmett is currently our secretary, and he is running for to continue and be reelected as secretary. So now we're going to proceed to elect Emmett Hobley as secretary by acclamation. So if everyone can raise your hands if you are in favor of electing Emmett Hobley as secretary by acclamation. Please raise your hand if you are in favor. Okay, I'm seeing 22 hands raised. Sorry, 25. 25 raised hands. Has everyone voted? Okay, 25 in favor of Emmett Hobley as secretary. I think, Emmett, congratulations, you are re-elected secretary of Inc.
Thank you very much.
Good luck to you. Okay, so now we have two positions for delegate at large, 2 people running. We actually have 3 positions open. So we have 2 candidates, so there's no competing, there's nothing contested here. So I think we're going to go we'll do each one individually. I think we'll do Lamone Knowles first. So Lamone, would you like to say a few words, please? Welcome, Lamone.
Well, thank you, Drew. Good morning to everybody. Thanks for attending today's meeting in spite of the competing events. I would be down at St. Patrick's Day parade, but anyway, I've been involved with the RNO community through different organizations, starting with CP FAN, which was a very dynamic, interesting organization. We got involved with a lot of activism on the City Park Golf Course. Then I moved on to the Greater Park Hill, which is where I live, served on their board in District 1 for 2 years. Since then, I've started my own RNO, which is the East Denver Residents Council, specifically for addressing issues in the historically Black communities with seniors and working families. And then I was recently elected vice president of the Northeast Park Hill Coalition, which is another historical organization in Park Hill. So getting involved with INC is a step up. I look forward to working with the NEST community, which the city has a program to work with underserved communities to get them involved as far as protecting their neighborhoods from divestment and continued displacement. My interest in the NEST program is to bring them into the RNO world so they can learn more about how the city works, what their rights are, and how to get involved with an organization like INC. Thank you.
Sorry, everyone, I was muted. Thank you, Lamone, for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's proceed to vote to elect Lamone Knowles to be delegate at large of Inc. by acclamation. So everyone in favor of electing Lamone Knowles by acclamation as delegate at large of Inc., please raise your hand. I'm seeing 22 hands up and 1 clap. I guess that's 25. Sorry, it's changed to 24. Okay, so congratulations, Lamone. You are now delegate at large to Inc. Welcome. And thank you. We look forward to serving with you, Lamone.
Thank you very much.
Great. Okay, so the next person up is Adam Meltzer. running for delegate at large. Adam, would you like to say a few words this morning? Why you want to be delegate at large to Inc.?
Sure, thanks. Hi, everyone. I'll keep it brief and just give you a little history about me because I know a lot of you don't know me. I live in one of the few rentals in Wash Park East, and I've been in Denver for almost 4 years. I've served on a bunch of neighborhood councils and associations in 3 different cities, in Los Angeles, in Portland, Oregon, and now here in Denver on the Wash Park East Neighborhood Association. My day job is I'm a sustainability consultant. I work in the design and construction industry for commercial buildings. My main focus in Inc. would be addressing issues related to climate change, waste, and air pollution. That's where my experience and knowledge is, and that's where my focus is. I hope to work with Jane and Keith and continue the great work that's already been done on the Inc. Sustainability Committee. Yeah, I think that's good for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Thanks very much. Okay, so let's proceed to vote by acclamation. Adam Meltzer as delegate at large to Inc. So everybody in favor of electing Adam Meltzer by acclamation to be delegate at large of Inc., please raise your hand. Okay, I'm seeing 25 raised hands and 1 clap. So we'll take that.
That might be an addition. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't, the clap went away.
I think the
It
clap
seems
is an
to.
addition, just welcoming you.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Loretta. Okay, so I see 25 raised hands in favor of Adam Meltzer being elected delegate at large to Inc. So Adam, congratulations. You are now a member of the board and you are a delegate at large to Inc. Thanks very much. Thanks to everybody for coming in despite and missing the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Thanks for your service to Inc. I think at this point, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our re-elected President, Loretta Koehler. Welcome again, Loretta.
All right. Oh, thanks. I'm going to lower my hand. And congratulations to all those on our new board. We're already going to start off running, and we have a meeting Monday. And so we do have an executive meeting on Monday evening. So just to let you know that we will be meeting Monday, and I look forward to working with everybody. Maggie, there's been a question in the chat about a saving option. I don't know how we can. I think you have to do that personally with the ellipses on there. That's my take, but you tell me if there's another way to save the chat that we can save it for everyone.
The chat is automatically saved.
Okay.
And we'll be putting that out in addition to when we put the video out, then that will be also included.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I hope that answers the question. Jim, did you have a question still, or is your hand just remaining up? Uh-oh, I think I lost him altogether. I didn't mean to do that. No, you're still there.
Yeah.
Okay.
He just put his hand down.
You
No
put your
question,
hand down.
no.
Okay. All righty. Okay. So we haven't done this in a while, and it's going to be a little challenging, but we used to do around the city. And so we've been throwing this around for a while that we could do this again. And we want to hear from everybody, because this is a good time to share what's going on in the city, to talk about what's happening. And if we could, just kind of hear what's happening, see what concerns are, talk about what's going on around the city. I don't know if anybody wants to raise their hand and has anything. That can be anything from, what's going, what are the, if you're having any kind of, special meetings in your RNO, if you have, some if you're working on your neighborhood plan, if you're working on, area plan, if you have other things going on, please let us know. And I see Trupti has a hand up, and Trupti, will start with you. And then I think we have Greg.
Yeah, hi. So I'm with Sunnyside United Neighbors. We're in District 1, and we currently have the Near Northwest Neighborhood Planning Initiative that includes Chaffee Park, Sunnyside, Highlands United, and Jefferson Park. I'm on the steering committee there as well on the NPI process, and they are just getting into their phase 2, which is they did an assessment. They've had 6 or 7 steering committee. They had all of the intake originally from community, and now they have, where we are and kind of all the issues and challenges. And now they're coming back to the neighborhood via public meetings and then also doing focus groups, such as for us, there is, light industrial area in Sunnyside. There is a business focus group. There's a health and wellness. There is the design and preservation. So that is kind of where we are right now, phase 2. I guess in about another year, 18 months, this will probably go, get finalized to go for adoption. So we've got the Near Northwest planning area going on. That is kind of the big piece over here. And the other big piece that impacts our neighborhood is that Fox Park, which is right across the railroad track in Gloveville area, the old Denver Post site. They're contemplating a multimodal bridge, aligned with the I-70 moving into Sunnyside. So we've got neighborhood meetings that are going to happen around the assessment and feasibility study of that bridge. There's a lot of people are going to be for it, and a lot of people are going to be against it, because both of these areas are also right near a transit station. So we've got a lot of people thinking, why are we going to put a automobile? Why are we encouraging more cars into 2 areas designed to be transit-oriented development? So those are the 2 large things happening right now that I'm involved in. And, our RNO also has elections coming up. So we've got that too. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Trupti. And if folks need to ask questions about the process, if their neighborhood's coming up soon, or their, area plans coming up, can they reach out to you?
Oh, yeah. And actually, I forgot one more. This is because I have had folks reach out to me. We're also in the middle of a conservation overlay, which is at the city right now. So that is also something going on. So lots happening in our neighborhood. And I'm also the president of our RNO, so I'm staying pretty busy with all these things. But yeah, feel free to reach out on any of those things.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Great. Hey, Greg, and then Judy.
So I just wanted to back up a minute and thank our retiring board members, Jane Potts and Maggie Price. Thank you so much. You have really made a difference to the organization. And I know that you're going to continue to help support us, but thank you very much.
I can't say enough of how much work they've done for us and how helpful they are. And it's, it's a loss. So it's sad, but I think, term limits, that's what happens. But I think we will keep seeing them and I know they'll both be active. So thank you very much. Judy?
Yes. Hi, everybody. And Greg, I want to echo that. I actually can't imagine, having been just a year ago since I joined the board, the INC board, how it's going to function without those 2. They're just so integral. So I just want to give a shout out to both of them, and just anyway, they've been so important. So and I'm at Historic Montclair Community Association. That is, for those of you who aren't familiar with where that is, it's just west of Lowry, and it's the oldest neighborhood in Denver. Established neighborhood.
Oh,
yes.
We weren't part of Denver when we were.
Yes.
So we'll say
Well,
that.
we weren't originally,
we
but
were,
anyway,
we were a
we
different
can, we
city.
can do dueling. How long have you been? Anyway.
Hey, Judy, what's going on in your neighborhood though?
Yeah.
What kind of stuff?
So what's going on in the neighborhood is it's actually starting to heat back up again, with just different, being in a historic neighborhood carries with it all the historic district kinds of things. And as people are coming in and buying homes in what is actually the historic district, it requires that we really work carefully, the RNO, the surrounding neighbors, and the Landmark Preservation Committee on designs and redos. It can be an interesting and challenging time to sort of support those changes and the evolution of the neighborhood while still keeping that character issue. That's one thing that's happening here in the RNO. We are, I'm wanting to update our DEI and using INC as a model for how to incorporate DEI values, philosophy, and action into our own bylaws as well as our own actions. I was really impressed with the climate sustainability program, was it last month? And what neighborhoods could do to start engaging further. And we're going to try to support some of those activities in climate sustainability with the city. And just breaking out. We had our first, we had our 4th annual Historic Montclair History Night with Tom Noel presenting the boom bust in Colorado from the 1870s to the pandemic. And it was our first in-person meeting in 2 years, but we've been able to continue thanks to Zoom, but people were really happy to get out and about. And so planning what feels like maybe a semi-normal year coming up together and bringing community together, creating that sense of belonging, as well as that sense of reaching out. So that's from historic. Oh, and I wanted to give a shout out to Patricia Mulligan over at Mayfair Mirror, because it was really thanks to you that we were able to find help with our newsletter. We lost both our newsletter ad sales as well as our production person. And it was really through reaching out to another RNO that we were able to land on our feet with that one and we're in the process of getting our newsletter out, which is our major form of communication. So Patricia, thanks so much. There you go.
Great, Judy. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Let me just say, I'll just tag team on while we're waiting to see if somebody else wants to present. So Baker, we were a different city. So we were South Denver. So we were incorporated into the city of Denver, and I don't know the year. And my house has been here since 1883. So yes, it was built in the 80s. So interesting challenges with historic neighborhoods. I mean, we've been a historic neighborhood since 2000, I think it's been. I think Adrian dropped off. I think he might have been part of that, but just to let you know, for Baker, we're working on, and I think it was helpful for us for the transportation committee that the last meeting that talked about parking, because we have parking because we're close to the north end of the neighborhood is near Denver Health. And so they have a few parking restrictions there. So I don't know how many other neighborhoods have parking restrictions. We have one of those kind of area plan restrictions. And so when ours is, we have restrictions in our neighborhood, but as a resident, you can park within any of these general areas. If you get farther away from Broadway, it's more open parking. So I don't know if other neighborhoods have that. It's been interesting, but they're changing that now, and we won't have like visitor tags very interesting transitions. The other thing is our neighborhood, even though we are a fairly old neighborhood, we have so many new apartments going up, and we have probably more than 1,000 residents. When we moved to Baker, it was probably 5,000 residents in the neighborhood. Then we dropped substantially because a lot of, gentrification, a lot of people left the neighborhood with kids. And now we have an influx again, but it's mainly young folks living in apartments. And so we have a development at 4th where the 4th Avenue and Bannock, which no, it's Acoma, where close to where Adrian lives. And also we have apartments in the old Kmart, if you know, in Alameda and Cherokee, and there's already gone up at least 500 more units and at least 1,000 more going there. So our neighborhood's changing substantially. It's always been 50% rental, and a lot of the city is substantial rental, but it's even changing more. So we always appreciate having renters, and we try and get renters on our board in our neighborhood. And I love that. Adam, if you're a renter, great. I love having renters because it gives us more breadth of, people who are here, because we have a lot of people who are renters in the city of Denver. So I appreciate that. So a lot of new apartments going up, unfortunately, not always affordable, but hopefully we can make transition and welcome more people into INC. So anybody else want to talk about what's going on near them? David, go ahead.
Hi, let me start my video and introduce myself. Thank you. New to the group here, but not. I'm not a officer with my RNO, which is Winston Downs, but I'm a new delegate to this group, courtesy of Jane Lorimer, who I know for many years. Winston Downs is directly south of the Lowry redevelopment. And back in the 90s and early 2000s, I participated for many years in the Lowry redevelopment, Citizens Advisory Committee, and various traffic improvement groups. I've always had an interest in traffic and multimodal transportation, people-oriented places, things like that. I've been president of the Winston Downs RNO in years past. And before 2005, I participated in the Leedsdale Corridor study, which was a $1.2 million study of multimodality improvements and possibilities in the blighted Leedsdale corridor, almost none of which got done except for a really great traffic light. If you ride your bike between the Cherry Creek Trail and George Washington, there's a little path that crosses Leedsdale with a light now, and that is courtesy of a photograph I took in the Photo Voices program, part of the Leedsdale Corridor study. So very pleased every time I drive by that. So I participate in the Mayor's Bicycle Advisory Committee. I'm a delegate to that. And I'm active on the Denver Bike Lobby Slack. So I have an interest, especially in bicycling. I had a knee replacement and I discovered that is the best thing you can do. Ride your bike, good for your knees. Okay, thanks everybody. Looking forward to participating.
I'm a big biker too, so.
Awesome.
I support you.
Robert, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, Inspiration Point neighborhood is the furthest northwest corner of Denver. It's the only neighborhood in North Denver that extends west of Sheridan. And its wall around Inspiration Point, which was to prevent cars from falling off the point, was built 108 years ago by Mayor Spear. He bought it with his personal funds for $10,000 and then sold it to the city of Denver. Many of the actors, there used to be a theater at Lakeside, that's on top of the one in Elitch's, and the actors would stay in homes on Inspiration Point. And that's a little bit of our history. We have an affordable housing on 52nd at Sheridan that houses almost 100 people. It's affordable housing, and for 20 years, we've been working to try to get the bus to clean up their boarding stations on both sides of 52nd Avenue. It's got poor drainage and great puddles develop after every storm, and people have to wait there and be splashed by the buses or stand way back and maybe miss the bus. So that's one of the issues we've dealt with for 20 years. The puddles are still there, but we may have some hope because Wheat Ridge and Jefferson County have now joined with Denver. We're a border town. We're surrounded by Adams County, Jefferson County, and Wheat Ridge and Lakeside. And those communities often don't have the same standards for drainage or for bus stops as the city of Denver. So we're working to try to get the drainage in front of Sheridan Glen Apartments, which is owned by Brothers, and it's affordable housing. So they can put in drainage and sidewalks and curbs and bus stops that make it reasonable for people to stand there after a storm and not be splashed. And that's one of our top priorities. It's taken 20 years and it still hasn't been corrected. The other point is the wall, which is 108 years old, was rebuilt recently, and a picture was taken of it just the other day, and standing on top of the wall was a coyote. We have lots of wild animals here, not just coyotes, but we used to have foxes, which we lost to the mange, raccoons, and even at sometimes bears and wildcats come down the Clear Creek Valley and come up to the point. Even elk and deer grazing on somebody's yard not too long ago in my lifetime. That's maybe 2 decades ago. But anyway, so those are the issues that we're dealing with here. We love our wildlife, but they attack pets, and people with pets lose occasionally their dogs or cats to coyotes and even to raccoons. And those are some of the issues in the far northwest corner of Denver, which still has some wildlife and still has some native vegetation, which is beautiful, but is a fire hazard. We had a huge fire here at Inspiration Point that's swept up the west side of the point and almost consumed a home next to it. So those are the issues of my neighborhood. I'm done.
Thanks, Robert. And I think you just had some updates at Inspiration Point Park too. I think there was.
Yes, we've had a new playground, a new picnic area, and a new irrigation system. That's still in process, but it will help us a lot. We have a lot of native vegetation, which is unirrigated. And on 4th of July, we're really at risk. This is how the fire started, from fireworks illegally shot from the Inspiration Point down into the grassy area down below.
Yeah.
Native grass, by the
Yes.
way.
Yeah. I on our trips to see all the parks in Denver, we've been to Inspiration Point, and I have seen the places where there were burn areas, and we're like, wow, what happened there? So thank you for filling us in. Next person, Christine.
Hi, well, Robert inspired me to raise my hand. It was interesting to hear about your neighborhood. I'm in the very, very far east Lowry, which I've been there 21 years after I moved from Park Hill. It was very new for a long time. It's filled in nicely. We have similar grass problems. We've had 2 fires in the last 2 years, but I actually like the grasses and think we're going to have to learn to live with them. And for those people who bike out by us, the second one was along the golf course at the curve where Dayton turns into First. And it looks like maybe a couple acres. It was pretty serious, but it didn't jump the street to the apartments across the street. And the same one with the one on the dam, it didn't jump into the apartments. I just want to make sure people know how important Lowry is in terms of a model development to the city. The 1,800 acres, because it was Air Force, had a 10% affordable housing requirement, has 2 units, huge developments by CCH, has a DHA housing, Denver Housing Authority, many really innovative Colorado land trust developments on Lowry. It's about 50% renters, 50% homeowners. It's a really mixed community. And after many hard years, and the people I'm going to thank don't really attend the ZAP meetings, Inc. meetings very often, but we have a board that's worked very, very hard to get diversity on our board, to make sure that we're all through the pandemic, we were working on, we had a coronavirus Lowry group. We've done a tremendous amount. Sustainability is one of the main ones we're working on. And as long with all the other neighborhood issues like zoning, we actually had a very innovative zoning first, which happened when we had a proposal on senior housing to be developed on an open space, which was a private open space. And there were two members of our board in particular who worked very hard with Host to get a voluntary agreement, because it was senior housing. There was no requirement that any units be affordable. And that is something that, and this was before it was required. So I think there's a lot of possibilities out here. And if you do ride by on your bike, make sure you notice the way it was built with the extra wide sidewalks and the roundabouts, which reduce the impacts of crashes, although we have many, many crashes, but the impacts are fewer. But the only disappointing part is that it was advertised as new urbanism with transit. And of course, our transit is entirely limited. It's limited to the 6 and the 3, 2 bus lines. We're 6 miles from light rail in any direction, out east, north, or over to the main line on the west. So we're really kind of isolated from train lines. But thank you for listening to my description.
Okay, great. I'm going to go to Tim, and then I'm going to go to Troop D, okay?
Hi, I'm Tim McHugh. I'm from Wash Park East Neighborhood Association. For the past 17 years, until the pandemic, Wash Park East and West Wash Park Neighborhood Association combined our efforts to produce a very successful July 4th celebration in Washington Park. We had the brass quintet of the Denver Municipal Band, a number of smaller musical groups that were there. We also had a bike parade for the kids and free ice cream after the bike parade. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we just couldn't hold this event in 2020 or 2021, but we decided to try again this year. So West Wash Park and Wash Park East are combining our efforts to again have the 4th of July event in Washington Park. Everybody's very supportive of that. It does take a lot of work that was involved for the past few years. There's another issue that's come up recently in our neighborhood association. A few years ago, some applicants looked into the possibility and approached DPR for a possible dog park in Washington Park. Well, friends and neighbors of Washington Park, Wash Park East, looked into this and got extensive input from the neighborhood. And there was rather unanimous agreement that the usage of Washington Park is so great that there just isn't room, there just wasn't room to put to support a dog park in Washington Park. Not only because of the significant usage by everybody, but the size of the dog park that would have been required for the number of people that wanted to bring their dogs there would have used too much land. And as you know, once a dog park is there, you can't use it for anything else but a dog park. Well, more recently, a few applicants have approached DPR to look into the possibility of putting a dog park in a smaller park that we have in Washington Park East Neighborhood Association called Veterans Park, which is near the District 3 Police Station. Right now, Parks and Rec has a survey online for people to take the survey to try help to determine how much support or lack of support there is for this proposed dog park in Veterans Park. As you might imagine, the residents living adjacent to this park are not very supportive, to say the least, of this dog park. But this is causing a lot of interest in whether there will be there will be going forward with a neighborhood dog park in Veterans Park. That's it.
Thanks for the update. I mean, that's always the challenge, is finding, you know, places where there can be dog parks. And I just happened to walk through Daly Park yesterday, and they said a child got bit by a dog that was loose. And so they had the, are they park rangers? Are they actually rangers? I don't know. Maggie, you might know. But they were there, and they were saying that, you know, they were out enforcing, because in our parks, we found there's a lot of dogs at large. It's a little scary because we've had them kind of, big dogs jump on us. And some of those dogs weigh like 110 pounds or, you know, and if you don't know the dog, it's a little scary, but they were out enforcing. So I've just seen that lately, and they're trying to enforce more. So just to let people know, keep your dogs on a leash, because sometimes people think all parks are dog parks, and, and it's not really the case. So Trupti, go ahead, and then we have Lou.
Yeah, hi, thank you. I just wanted to bring attention to a couple of comments that I saw in chat. You know, Bill Tanner, well, a couple of things. Jane, you know, mentioned how this is a great, you know, opportunity for us all to share with one another and why Inc. is so important. And then Bill Tanner said, you know, would it be good for Inc. to do an RNO survey to learn about issues, you know, and that are considered important to RNOs, and which ones we can advocate and help. And what I wanted to say about that was that Inc., we've been talking about doing a RNO survey, Judy Baxter and I, and then Loretta as well. And Bill Tanner also has a survey research background. He just volunteered to help as well. So I just want to just let folks know that I think doing a survey to hear and understand more about the issues and things going on in the various neighborhoods and how Inc. could be of value kind of comes back to that other original question about why people don't show up and why is the membership low. So just want to put that out there that Inc. is talking about this. And now that we're past elections and some of the work associated with that, I'm hoping that we can get a group together to work on the survey. Thanks.
That would be awesome. If anybody wants to volunteer with it, let us know. Okay.
I've got Bill Tanner, I've got myself, I've got Judy Baxter, and I think Jane Larimer was just talking about that. She had done one a few years ago. So we, you know, we will pull that back up. We will go look back and look at the city's RNO survey. We don't need to repeat things that are in there, but add and explore a little bit more about kind of how we can help some of those. So yeah, thanks, Drew. This was already out there for, you know, we've been talking about it for a little while. So I'm hoping to put a committee together with the folks that I just mentioned, and we'll talk about it at the executive meeting to see if Inc. would approve that.
Okay, great. Lou, did you want to go ahead?
Sure, just giving a quick report to those who may not have seen this in the news, but the 13-acre parcel for Cherry Creek. So I'm on the board of, and president of Cherry Creek North Neighborhood Association, and the west parcel of the mall where Bed Bath & Beyond was located, in Elways and so on, that has just been ground leased to a cooperative group that is headed by East West Partners. So that 13-acre parcel is going to be developed over the next couple of years. There will be a lot of rezoning with that, a new park, so to speak. They're putting the private road to the south of that parcel under a connection to the creek. So that'll be something just to watch, but that's probably the biggest new development in Cherry Creek North. Thank you.
Thanks. And I think it's great. I think, you know, going around the city and seeing all the parks, I'm trying to hit them all. And I think we're at 190 some out of 300 and something now, which has been a challenge, but it's so fascinating to see what parks are there, what parks are around the city and what's going on. And a beautiful day like today, I'll probably try and hit a couple, and Denver has some wonderful mountain parks. So I really appreciate going around the city and to the mountain parks to see what all we have. Anybody else want to chime in? We still have some time. Anybody else, you know, anything going on in your neighborhood that you'd like to update us? Or Bill, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, let me get the video started here. I'm not going to talk about specific things in our neighborhood. There's just a lot going on, and along with Lou, we're very interested in the East-West Partners development west of the Cherry Creek Mall. But one issue that's come up is city planning sometimes seems to have a hard time deciding whether or not it should live with local area plans that were developed some years ago. And I don't think this should be an issue. I think if we have a local area plan in place, even if it's inconvenient for the city to go along with that plan at this particular point in time, there shouldn't be a question as to whether or not a development fits that plan or not. And the plan ought to be adhered to. You know, that's why the plans were developed in the first place. So I'd be interested in hearing from others if they find and hear from Inc. about potentially supporting neighborhoods when the city wants to depart or separate itself from what was an original local area plan.
I think that's a great point. Does anybody have anything to add? Because I've seen that for us. Wendy, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to share that our neighborhood is also going through a bit of dusting off of bylaws and taking a closer look at us, our organization, and doing some image and logo updates. And in the course of our most recent election, we ran into the issue of old language in our bylaws that to me was not equitable for renters. It stated that the voters would be homeowners. So we're trying to get ourselves in line with what the city ordinance requires of RNOs and what morally I think is correct. So, and unfortunately, it wasn't a, you know, there was some contention within our board, but I think we've worked through it and we'll be a stronger board because we are welcoming renters, and we have 2 new renters who are on our board of directors at the moment. So 53% of the population in Denver are renters, and we need to do a better job, I think, RNOs throughout the city of reaching out to our residents who are renters and making sure that they understand that RNOs advocate on their behalf too. So that, and also we do an annual community picnic in Cranmer Park, and that is on schedule for Friday, the 1st of July. So bring your picnics or take advantage of the food trucks we have, and a concert by the Denver Municipal Band while we mooch off of the fireworks display from Glendale. So Friday, July 1st for that event. And that's the news from Hilltop.
Thank you. Awesome. I think that, you know, whatever you can share. I know that we'll do this again, and I think people appreciate it. And I think we'd love to hear more from other neighbors and events that you have coming up. So that's always great to hear. Gertie, go ahead.
Yeah, I am not a delegate. I live in the southern part of the Spear neighborhood, which is part of the West Wash Park Neighborhood Association. I am not a delegate, and I am no longer on the board because it was time to turn things over to a younger group that may or may not have a different perspective than those of us who have lived in the neighborhood. I've lived in my neighborhood for almost 45 years. But the comment that I wanted to make is we have a neighborhood plan that predates the revision of Blueprint Denver in 2019. And it is there are provisions in Blueprint Denver that conflict with our neighborhood plan. And so I think, and I think it's in response to Bill Tanner's issue, one of the issues that those of us who've lived in the neighborhood a long time and worked hard to get the neighborhood plan enacted and trying to get zoning and land use decisions consistent with our plan, because of the revisions of Blueprint Denver, there's a real conflict, and it's kind of a losing battle. Blueprint Denver is going to take priority, particularly with the current council, as perhaps it should. But that issue of the city not following plans that have been in place for a while is tough, because the Blueprint Denver revision in 2019 was vast and encompassed a whole lot of issues that we simply were not prepared to explore and understand. And so I hope the city will get going on or ramp up the revision of the smaller area plans and neighborhood plans so that we don't have this conflict. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Gertie. I think that's great, helpful background information. Did Wendy, did you have another comment, or was that just your hand was still up? And Adrian, you have a comment.
Yes, and at the risk of Baker getting an unfair share because Loretta's so overwhelming in all of this, I just wanted to mention one thing that we're doing in Baker, which I think has sort of citywide application, but we are doing it in Baker because we want an absolutely neighborhood-centric approach. And this is to a general response to our unhoused community in our neighborhood. Some portion of we're dealing with the whole thing, but the bit I wanted to focus on and just throw out to show what we are doing, we have in our neighborhood a significant number, not a huge number, but a significant number of empty nesters, of which my wife and I, Lucia and I, count ourselves. And we're sitting around in a house that's too big for us. Our kids have fled, and we are confronted with an excess of space. And so either we're going to move or we're going to do something with it. And we have decided, and the neighborhood is starting to set up essentially a clearinghouse where people who are suddenly unhoused can find temporary, at least, accommodations in those unfilled rooms with pictures of diplomas and so forth and childhood pictures while they get themselves sorted out and find other arrangements. At the risk of virtue signaling, we currently have a delightful family staying with us with their 2 cats, and we got plenty of room for them. And it's not only been an enormous, I think, help for them, but it's rejuvenated our love of our own house and our love of doing things for the neighborhood. I would strongly recommend that as a community building activity, other neighborhoods, give that some thought. It's a direct, helpful way of addressing at least one portion, and an important portion, of the unhoused I was going to say problem. I'm going to call it the unhoused opportunity, which we are all confronted with.
Before I call on you, Trupti, I just want to tag on to Adrian. You know, being near the core of the city, we do have a lot of unhoused population, and we've been working on a committee to try and talk about issues regarding, you know, little pantries in the neighborhood. I think you guys know where, you know, it's not just people who are unhoused, it might be people who are on, you know, tough times with COVID. And so they might need some canned food, or they might need, you know, some bagged rice or beans or something, you know, so there's churches, there's other places on Broadway. So we've been working with that. And so there's other issues regarding like getting, you know, we don't have the most bathrooms. And if you happen to be walking down the street, you have to go into an establishment to find a place to have a restroom. And so, you know, other cities have them, but, you know, we're looking at, can we have like a porta potty? Our park doesn't even have bathrooms, which is unfortunate, because if you have kids playing sports, if the rec center's open, awesome. But if not, your children have to go home to go find a restroom, right? So, and you may be blocks away, right? That's a tough thing sometimes. So we're working on that. So we're working on various issues. So that's one thing that I didn't bring up, but thank you for bringing that up again, Adrian. And so we're trying to have a thoughtful discussion of what we can do, you know, to work on this situation, right? So I think we've all seen it around the city, and we know it can be an issue. So we're just trying to figure out how we can, you know, how we can help work through this situation. So go ahead, Trupti.
Hi, thank you. Well, I was just amazed at this, what you guys are doing in Baker, that you got, you know, coming around an issue like this and taking impact. I mean, I find that impressive. I mean, what I would love is to hear more about how you guys made that happen, you know, and maybe, you know, kind of share that with other RNOs, maybe through Inc. I don't know whether we can make a forum out of this, but that's an amazing community, you know, I don't even know what to call it. We just don't see that anymore. But yeah, I mean, I would love for you guys to be able to share how your RNO was able to come together around this and to actually bring about a change and an impact, and maybe show other RNOs how to maybe be able to do something like that. I'm just very impressed. I think that's just amazing. Thank you, guys.
Well, and I'll just, one thing aside, I mean, what we're trying to work on, and you know, we know people's issues with the SOSs, the tiny home villages, you know, those issues. And, you know, we're working with, our committee works with, because we're bordered by, you know, a business, you know, Broadway's very business, Santa Fe's very business, you know, there's businesses on 6th Avenue, and there's businesses on Alameda. And so we have the Broadway Merchants Association are also part of our committee. And then we also have, you know, which they're working with the city to try and get, you know, porta potties, right? And so we're hoping we can have those so that we, you know, don't have that issue. And then we also have Bayard Industries in the neighborhood that work with, you know, people who are, you know, developmentally disabled, and they provide jobs and services. So, you know, we have them in the neighborhood, and we have other services in the neighborhood, which we have sobriety houses, we have, you know, houses for people who are developmentally disabled, and we have housing for those in our neighborhood. So we have a lot of services in the neighborhood. So we're trying to work with people and understand, you know, meet people where they are, right? So not everybody's on the same level. So, you know, once we kind of get somewhere farther along, Trupti, maybe we'll come back and we'll present, and you know, and Adrian's really stepping up compared to, you know, I don't have that much space in my tiny little house, but you know, anyway, that's part of where we are. So, again, so do we have anybody else in around the city who would like to would like to present. You know, we, and I think, Jane, I wanted to bring this up too, and I think that's what you're saying is, I'd like to talk about at some point in the future, you know, if we can go back to in-person, you know, things are starting to open up, but a lot of the large spaces where we had meetings previously, you know, when, if you remember back when we had meetings at like Brookdale, you know, that's a senior facility. They're still not opening up to allow people in. You know, we would go to rec centers. And so we're going to go back and look at, and I think our executive committee will talk about getting together and meeting. Now, I'm part of another organization that, you know, they do hybrid meetings. It can be challenging, but we can try and do that still. You know, but I think at some point in the future, we want to talk about, can we get back to in-person meetings, or maybe we'll do some in-person and some, you know, maybe in the winter we'll still do Zoom, because for those of you, you know, I don't drive as much anymore because I basically work from home. And so it's nice when I don't have to go out and drive on a snowy day. So we might look at winter doing more meetings, you know, via Zoom, but I think we're going to talk about that. You know, so I think, you know, those are conversations for the executive. And if people have any thoughts about that, let us know, because I think we all do miss seeing each other. Anyway, anybody else want to talk about what's going on in their neighborhood or near them? You know, let me know. Drew, you know, do you have anything? Gertie, you have your hand up again before we go to someone else.
Yeah, there was a proposal for a rezoning on Lincoln, just south of First Avenue, that is now zoned for multi-unit 5-story. And the applicant wanted to rezone it to Main Street 5-story, which would allow commercial throughout the building, although he said he wanted residential. He has now withdrawn that and is going to build according to the current zoning. And I have not talked to him personally. I think they just sent a notice to the zoning committee. I don't know how they communicated to the zoning committee that they were withdrawing their application. But at the last meeting, when he met with our RNO, he said he was reluctant. He didn't want to have to do affordable housing. And I don't know if this is a reaction to the speed with which the new affordable housing, inclusive housing ordinance is going through the city or not. But I know, although it just disappoints me, because I really would like to see more affordable housing in our neighborhood. And I have no idea, I don't know, maybe Adrian and the Baker folks know why he withdrew his application for the rezoning, but that's the word that we have. And it's just disappointing to me, because I'm afraid that is the kind of reaction Denver may see if that affordable housing thing is enacted.
Thanks, Gertie, and I can follow up with you, and I'll try and talk to Steve about that. But Lucia, Adrian, did you know, or did you want to respond? I think you're still on mute. There you go.
Yeah. So I think that that is very important, Gertie. I haven't heard anything about that, but I would suspect that if he didn't have so much parking, he would be able to do affordable housing. He's got way too much parking in his development for being right on Lincoln Street that has a bus go by every 10 minutes. So that's my thought on it, is if he loosened the amount of parking he was putting in, reduced it, he would have more money for other things.
I think that this is like an interesting topic, I think, for all of us across the city. And I think it's really valuable because I think, you know, I mean, how do we get affordable housing, and how do we make sure that people can, because we all know and we all understand that Denver's become so expensive, and you know, if you're young and you want to purchase a home, that even is difficult, right? So I think that, you know, having affordable housing is such a big topic, and I think it's something that we discuss pretty frequently at INC, and I think we need to keep that in mind when, you know, these, you know, the new, you know, when things go into effect about you know, having so much affordable housing as part of their development. So I think we need to like keep a finger on that, a finger on the pulse. And I know that ZAP will do that also. So, so I appreciate that coming up. I'm gonna kind of check on that on the side. Troopty, did you have something? And I can go back to you, Adrian, if you have something in a minute, but Troopty.
I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is not related to at least the current, but it's kind of a general question that I have for our group. And maybe this is a ZAP thing. One of the things that I've been thinking about is all of these R&O notifications that an R&O gets. I'm wondering if we, Inc. can push the city to just make that information public. And so that we can just refer all of our residents to just this link, you know, instead of becoming gatekeepers, because then we don't have enough time to gatekeep, even if we wanted to do it well. And I would love for that information to be more broadly shared, but I just don't know how to do that. You know, I'm trying to figure out whether I could take a whole email list and stick that email list on a webpage. But has anybody figured out how to just share all of the R&O notifications without being gatekeeper? Thank you.
So Troopty, I have worked since Kelly Lead, do you remember him? Since he was the head of development services, it's a long time ago. I have worked to try to make all liquor postings, rezonings available to whoever wants to. You know darn well that the lobbyists are getting all of them somehow, but we can't do it. Most recently, I worked with a guy named Joe in Ortega's office, and he worked on it and hasn't been able to make an opt-in. But I know from Jefferson County's website, you can go there and there's like 30 links. You can sign up just to get planning board notices. I signed up to get the open space closures, so I know not to go hiking. That's an option that other counties have figured out. So I think this is really important. I can't read all the zoning notices for the entire city, and Ian can't either, but everybody should know what's going on. If you saw the number of things that are going on that the members of the EC's executive committee here get, it's phenomenal. So I agree with you wholeheartedly, and maybe we should work on city council to push this.
Yes. Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going at. You know, I know we've got Cashman with the whole R&O survey piece of it, but I wanted to hear whether other folks were kind of thinking the same thing, and maybe Inc. take this on as a push to make it happen.
Well,
Yeah,
we've been working with Joel and Clark to talk about things like that. So I mean, and I think we can keep working. I think it's really important. So go ahead, Christine. And then
No, I was just going to say I'm so glad you brought it up, because it's not new, and we need a new fresh start on it. So
okay.
Let's do that.
Okay. I'm going to go to.
So just one thing, if for whatever reason we can't get this done through the city, and I see Maggie's hands up, you know,
Right.
couldn't Inc., because Inc. gets every notification, could we not make that public, and then every R&O can link to the Inc. page to say, you want to know about every notification every R&O gets? There they are. All right, thank you.
Okay. Maggie, and then we can go back to you, Gertie.
Well, I think that should be something that's part of the R&O reform. I don't believe that we should be the gatekeepers any longer. At one point, that was the way that the city used us. But I think that people should be able to subscribe to that from the city. Now, I don't know if the city thinks that they have some sort of problem with that. But I would imagine there are some lobbyists that would have a problem with their neighbors knowing what they were doing. But I think we should strive to have that be subscription service. And let's, really get down to the nitty gritty. A lot of people have formed RNOs for no other reason than to get the information. And that should be another thing that would prevent that kind of abuse and continue to make the RNOs more valuable.
Very helpful.
Thank you.
Gertie, did you have something else?
Yes, Loretta may have the inside scoop on this, but Steve Harley has mentioned it several times when we've had, when there've been discussions with somebody, and I can't remember whom, and he's a computer nerd and he knows a whole lot more about computers than I do. I just want to relate one personal experience that I had. I was given the authority to represent our RNO at a liquor license hearing. And I showed up, checked in, and nobody was there. It was the third time that has happened with that particular applicant. And he files late for a continuance and gets it. But the current folks in charge of there are some issues getting information. And when you say gatekeeper, I'm finding the gate is pretty much shut. And I did not get notice until this morning that the hearing that I tried to get into last week was continued. And I do think it would be really, really helpful if we could do what Chris just talked about, sign up to get notices for only specific postings out of specific agencies of the city, not necessarily the whole shebang, because some of it is not relevant. Thank you very much, everybody. This is a great conversation.
Agreed. And there was another note, and Steve Epler, you were talking about Denver is restricting access to multiple types of data. For example, historic crime data is no longer available, just current crime data, which is valuable information. This makes it impossible to look at trends. The same is true for Vision Zero data that is used for current planning purposes. That's interesting to note, and I think we should have all that information. I don't know why that's happening. And it seems like, I mean, I'm still trying to get, somebody to come from planning to talk about, why they're giving us less information too. I think that, we had this discussion one time before. Are they really providing, RNOs and people, all the information that they need, like when you get it, and do they not give you the contact of the proposed developer, like, do you not have that? So I don't know if that's been better lately or not. Christine, did you have your hand up?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. This has been a great conversation, and I think it's an ongoing conversation. I think we'll need to keep working. I'll check in with Steve again, about what he, because I know he's really trying to get them to say, hey, we want this opt-in, and he's figured a way that they can do it, and he's figured a way that would be simple enough, and we'll keep pushing on it. Maybe I could have him come present sometime, but anything else from around the city? This has been a great discussion. Anything else going on? Anything else want to talk about? Anything? If not, there's a beautiful day. It's shorts weather now. Because after you've been in such cold temperature, I think we can say 50, let's see what the temperature is now, 53, 56. Go out there, enjoy the weather, unless we have anything else. All right, I appreciate everyone being here today. I appreciate the conversation. I'm going to sign off and say thank you, everyone, and thanks to our outgoing board members, and thanks to our new members, and we'll see you all next month. Thanks.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.